thinking, this is not.
I am ready. Okay, we'll go ahead and open up the Board of Works meeting. If everybody's had a chance to read the previous minutes, I'll entertain a motion to the minutes.
Make a motion to approve the minutes.
Second that motion.
We've got a motion and a second that carries.
This is this meeting, you can ask them after the meeting, it won't last very long.
This is the meeting I told you you could go to.
Okay, thank you very much.
So we've got a motion and a second on the meetings, that carries.
Yeah.
Okay, under the mayor tonight, we would like to get, no, that's under Randy's name. I don't have anything under the mayor tonight. The next one for the police department is, got a flooring quote. To replace the tile in the police department. That's from the second door back, clear back through the office area and all the black tile.
They want to put vinyl.
Yep.
And then my carpet in the interior beach room.
So what's the board's feelings on that?
This is the only bit we got.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's the new one over there at 28 and
2867.
67. You know where the campers used to be? It's a new
Yeah.
floor in place.
Oh, yeah.
We used to have a building in Albany, you know, on the corner center.
Oh, did it? Yeah, okay. Didn't know that.
He's got the money budgeted, I think.
Yes.
I'll make a motion to approve the request for the flooring.
I'll second that.
I've got a motion and a second on the new vinyl flooring in the police department. That carries. Brock, what you got on the water department, buddy?
Wednesday, I believe we're gonna be shutting down all of Mount Auburn in the 200 block. We got a water leak. We're gonna have to,
Is that a main or service?
we're not sure.
Where is it at on Mount Auburn?
The 200 block, right
As
past
soon
the
as you go
full
through the stop sign on your left-hand side.
Across
Did they
the-
put a gas line in there where that new section of sidewalk's at?
on the south side of the road, I believe. It'd be the north side.
North side.
Yeah.
Yeah, I bet you find out how come it's leaking. Maybe, I don't know. We haven't fixed a leak there, have we?
No. But
So you want to shut down from Indiana down to Johnson or something?
probably, we'll probably just shut it off at about halfway down. Just enough to get us enough room. We're probably gonna dig the top off and then try to vac it. Since it's a new road, we don't tear it up as much.
When you gonna do that?
Going for Wednesday.
But you're gonna put signs on Johnson so people don't turn and come down.
Yeah, one little full bed.
This is the leak we found with our meters.
It indicated about 3 months ago
Yeah, you
that it
can't
was
see
right
it.
there coming.
Right.
We haven't just got down there to dig it and now it showed itself.
Yeah, you can see it's leaking now.
Oh, it's leaking.
Yeah, you can see
Well,
it. You can see it now.
It's leaking, yeah. All right, you have anything else? Ron?
Nope, that's it.
Did you have a?
That's for
Values.
Cass. Yeah.
Sewage department?
Nothing.
The street department, they're wanting to block off from North Indiana to North Broad. Basically, all we do is take the barricades down there, they slide them out during the hours they have it, and then they put them back.
So this wouldn't just be closed during the day?
Yeah, which have their functions, yes. So they did this for years.
I think it's a 6 to 8:15 p.m.
So, yeah. Okay, the fire department, I have nothing. I checked on some radios. I'll find out, I think tomorrow. I was thinking they're having a meeting tonight, so we might find out something. Park department,
Yeah.
it's the 4x, it's got 4x and they're covered with metal, they're 4x are shot, so he says for around $500 he can get material and get that fixed up, so he's gonna go ahead and start on that. He'll bring us an invoice and everything when he gets that done. All right. We've got one student here tonight. If you'd like to tell us your name and what class you're with.
My name is Bryce Coy. My teacher is Stephen Millsbog at Jay County Junior Senior High School, and I'm in government.
Okay, welcome. If you need anything, don't be afraid to ask.
All right.
Kara, do you have anything?
No.
Are you here for a question for the Board of Works or anything?
No, sir, I have an issue I wanted to share.
For the Board of Works?
No, sir.
Uh,
It has to do with the police department.
Okay, that'll be in the next meeting.
Okay, well, it's a phone call I made to you that you
Right.
ignored. Okay,
Yes.
so I need to get the hell out?
No, you can stay.
Okay, I apologize. I told you the Board of Works would handle employee issues, so that's why he's here.
Yeah, I want you to explain it to council.
Sure, I understand.
And then the Board of Works will make the call on what, if there's anything that needs to be done, so. That way it gives them a chance to talk to the police chief and all that stuff, so.
Well, I mean, everybody's aware of it. It was broadcast on YouTube.
Well, I don't watch it.
Yeah, no, I don't either, but I mean, his probation officer watched it, the police watched it, and, you know,
Okay, I'll
I'm with you, I wouldn't even know how to get on it.
go ahead and explain why you're here. So these
Okay,
guys know.
What happened, I have a son who's suffering from mental illness. About 12 years ago it started, and just, I don't want to give you a whole bunch of things, but I want you to have a complete story, because it's real easy to say, well, gee, are you calling the cops all the time? Is the crazy guy bothering them? I called the officers in this town one time, and that was about 3 years ago when I first moved in. I'd never called on him in the past or anything. There's never been any issues with him. The other day he was standing at the window holding his, and he has a history of posting ridiculous things on the social media stuff that I am totally ignorant about. He happened to be holding his phone and live broadcasting on Facebook. And he was screaming out the window, and I'm not trying to be mean or facetious with him, but I am going to say invisible policeman, so you can distinguish from the real policeman and what was in his mind. He was yelling at the invisible policeman because they had his 2 children and they were beating the hell out of them and raping them. And he had his cell phone and he was screaming at him to stop. And he would run downstairs occasionally and go outside, and then of course it would all disappear, and then he'd go back upstairs and he could see it again. So I called the police because I didn't know what else to do. It's the worst he's been for a while, and it really was getting to the point I didn't want the neighbors to have to call the police. I felt like that would be a more serious situation. And out of respect for my neighbors, he doesn't need to be standing up there screaming. I could go up, I could quiet him down, but as soon as I leave him, he's going to go right back to what he's doing. He forgets everything, goes right back into that world. So he was standing at the bedroom window, screaming at those policemen, so I called. It turned out, and I don't know what order everything happened in, but my son in Ohio also called the police because he did see it on Facebook. And I don't know if he told, when he called, if he told him it was on Facebook and that's why they were watching it, because to me it's like, why would anybody be watching Facebook? You know, I'm real ignorant when it comes to that stuff. So anyways, they refused to come out, and I got really upset about it. And the dispatcher called him again because I took it out on the dispatcher. And so she called me back, the police officer, and she said, look, I'm watching this on Facebook, and he looks really angry and violent, and he might hurt me. And I said, no, yes, I understand what you're saying, and I know he appears that way, but I have had other incidents in other towns, so he hasn't been here this long with me. And I said, but as soon as I tell him to come down, he'll come down, and he'll sweet talk the cops, and he'll be Mr. Innocent. I said, he's not a threat. There are no weapons in the house. He doesn't have any weapons, even minor weapons. You need to get your ass out here. It's your job. And she basically, we were done with that. And so I called the dispatcher, I called his probation officer. Well, as soon as I called his probation officer, I don't really have stuff. They're more modern than me. She started watching him on Facebook, just automatically on her own. And that's why I say I don't know if she told the police he was on Facebook or if my son told the dispatcher. I don't want to pretend to know how everybody got on Facebook, but everybody was watching him on Facebook. And he was an angry, scary mess if you don't know him. And I can respect people being concerned. But to jump ahead of myself, when the police did get there, I said, Dustin, get your ass down there. And he come downstairs. It's like, hey, what's the problem? You know. But she refused to come out. And the parole officer, or I should say probation officer, told her she needed to go out and at least do a wellness check. The dispatcher apologized to me, said it never had happened with any department before. And we talked about it, and so I'm not sure who come up with it, but we agreed he'd call the sheriff. He said he didn't know if they'd come out, that he wasn't sure about jurisdiction and such. But it ended up, once back up, she decided to come out. Now, I don't know if it's because she didn't want to be embarrassed or what. When she got out there, I confronted her. And she told me I told her not because she didn't want to escalate the situation. Now, to me, that's a involved until after the dispatcher called the sheriff and assured her she would have backup. I find that outrageous and offensive and ridiculous. It's like, man, you crazy hillbillies call every Friday night, you know, he's upset having his little spell or whatever. And even though I don't think that would give him a legal right not to come out, I could understand if I was someone who abused the system or called him. But this is the second time I've ever called. First time was about 3 years ago when I first moved in, and that was a totally separate, unrelated issue. Other than that, I have never called in. They were observing it on Facebook, so it wasn't like that's no big deal. It's father son having their. She admitted she seen, and he was. I would have been scared of him if I didn't know him and know the situation. Totally respect that. He was threatening those invisible cops and what he was going to do to them, you know, and leave my children alone. But and maybe I'm way out in left field, but I don't think she had the right to decide it was too dangerous, or she didn't want, you know. I just felt like she had an obligation to come out there. You know, she had to bring an M16 and lay in the bushes. I just felt like she had an obligation to come out, and I said, I understand that you're trained to diffuse situations. I've been in those trainings. I used to be affiliated with the FOP. I said, I understand, but it won't escalate. I assure you, the second you get there, it will de-escalate, and it did. And I'm apologizing, I'm kind of going on and on. If you have any questions, I'll answer them, but basically, I just find that outrageous. And I'm the kind of person that I'm going to be the most outraged and the most pleased. And I know that about my personality. The other officers who come out, especially the young officer who's in the white patrol car, he was unbelievable. He went out of his way to be professional and to be understanding and appeared to have some, it's just another whole topic, but cops shouldn't have to deal with mental illness, but appeared to have some information in that field. She come out and she was really pissed because I hung up on her on the phone, and her and I, and so she starts lecturing me on mental health and how I don't know how to handle people. Well, I don't know if you know what rest care is, but there are 26 states. They do MRDD, mentally retarded and mentally disabled and mentally ill people. I've done crisis hotline. I've mediated for the court of Huber Heights in Ohio. I do have some experience, actually. I don't expect everybody to. I don't expect anybody to know much about it. But for her to come out and lecture me and use terminology incorrectly, and when I correct her on the terminology, she says, well, I'm not an expert. And the issue was, to be totally transparent, is during the incident, I went upstairs to try to quiet him down a little bit till the cops got there and to get him prepared. And when I was coming up the stairs, he said, who is it? Who is it? Well, you have to understand, I've been dealing with this for 12 years. I was a single dad. I know my son. I said, it's a goddamn monster. Who the hell do you think it is? And she gave me a lecture on that because that wasn't proper. And maybe it wouldn't be in certain situations, but I know my son. I know when kindness and reason is appropriate, and I know when a firm hand is appropriate. Like I
So
said,
what would you say the time was it took them to get down there?
I think it was about 2 hours altogether because they weren't going to come initially.
Did you call them first, or did you call Jay County? Or did you
I
call
called 911, which was the Jay County dispatcher. And that was another point I wanted to make. Tabitha Davis is his probation officer. And she observed all this. Because the problem is I used to do investigations for a living as part of one of my jobs.
Well, I'm trying to concentrate on what
what I'm getting at is there's my story and there's this story sometimes, and then there's the truth. And so I want to give you witnesses. There was 2 911 folks involved that answered the phone and apologized to me.
So
that
you're
they wouldn't come
saying
out.
they wouldn't respond either?
No, 911 was very good. They apologized and called the sheriff's department. I don't know exactly how it happened, but they knew that Dunkirk wasn't going to respond. So they apologized and called the sheriff.
911 told you Dunkirk would not respond?
No, what was not. They called them, and then Dunkirk told them they weren't going to respond. Okay, because, and again, that's why I want to give you that's why I want to make it a point to give you the 911 Friday night, the time, I'll get the time and stuff, so you can talk to them. I mean, my point is, even though I believe I'm telling the truth, maybe I have my version, but if you talk to the probation officer who called Dunkirk, and Dunkirk was resistant, and the probation officer said, no, you got to do at least a wellness check. Okay, you can talk to her. She's a probation officer. Not take my word, because I know this sounds really crazy, outrageous. That's why I'm here, because I couldn't believe it happened. You can talk to the lady. There was a lady and a gentleman that were the 911 dispatchers, and they could tell you exactly what happened without me, even bothering.
So did you come up to the Dunkirk PD?
Since it happened,
Yeah, have you talked to them since this all happened?
yeah.
Did they ask you to file out a complaint?
Yeah.
And you would not do that?
I didn't resist. I said I wanted to talk to you first. I don't know what's appropriate, what's not appropriate. They were already there talking about it because it was kind of the gossip of the office, because it was on Facebook and stuff. So, you know what I mean? So it wasn't like they weren't aware of it, but I understand if I had to fill out an official document, I had to fill out an official document. I wasn't resisting. I wanted to try to get more information tonight. That's really my point. What's appropriate? What's not appropriate? Am I out of line? Is there... is that common? I don't know what their standard practice is.
I will get some more details. I've heard a little bit about this, but I will get some more details from our chief, and I will get back with you.
Yeah, I'm not so much worried about you getting back with me as I am, and I don't mean to be arrogant, but I can take care of my son, I can take care of myself. I picture, what if this would have been an elderly lady and her son-in-law was beating the hell out of her, and the response was, I don't want to escalate the situation. And I feel like I have an obligation, since I was fortunate enough, nothing bad come of it, everything went fine, to just make you aware of it. Because in my life, in the corporate world, so many things would go on because the right person wasn't aware of it, rather than pouting and saying, oh, the city's messed up or the cops are messed up. I feel like I have an obligation to at least once make everyone aware of the situation,
Let
and then
me get
let it move forward, you
to
know.
the bottom of this, and I will let you know what you
Yeah.
need to do.
Okay, yeah, and I will do whatever I'm asked to do, because I'm not looking for a pound of flesh.
See, I
I'm not
don't
looking
have
for
the
revenge.
information they can find
Sure,
out
sure.
about your son and all
Right,
that
right,
stuff.
right, and that's why I gave you the names of Tabitha. She's in the Greenfield office, Tabitha Davis, she's a probation officer, and then the 291 people, because you're gonna get a lot more, in your mind, credible information from each of them, and that's fair. That's fair, I've got a dog in the fight. But since you mentioned it, just to give you a tip, that's another thing. This lady didn't know anything about my son or anything else. The young man that come out, evidently he'd done a little homework because he was aware of my son's diagnosis, which amazed me. So he did some homework, and he needs to be commended for
Well, it
doing.
was called first.
What's that?
They was called first.
No, she was.
No, I thought you said you called 911 first.
Yeah, but I mean,
So when you called 911,
the young
they
Dunkirk.
dispatched to the county sheriff that was against.
No, I'm not talking about the young Dunkirk officer, I believe it was. He had information. I believe he was in a white car. I'm not sure.
See, we don't own the white car.
Okay, well, see, that's the trouble. Somebody told me that they also called another municipality.
Yes, sir.
Because, you know, and I don't know those details because all I did was make the phone call. That's it. I'm not gonna pretend to know something.
Well, let me
I
do
don't.
some checking,
But, yeah.
and I will have some answers for you.
But just to make sure we're clear on that, the people that were called first was Dunkirk. The sheriff wasn't called till maybe an hour later.
You didn't call 911 first like you told
I
me.
called 911 first, but they told me they called Dunkirk.
They would dispatch Dunkirk.
Okay,
Maybe.
because, well, no, they told me, dispatcher told me after our discussion later that he didn't know if the sheriff would respond or not because it wasn't, he didn't know if that was technically their jurisdiction or whatever. Clearly, Dunkirk was called first and refused, and then everything else happened.
I'll have to check on that.
Yeah, no, I understand
I've
that.
never
I
heard
totally
of
respect
one
it.
refusing not to show up. I've heard them delay.
Oh, no, I can
Because of no
understand the
backup.
delay. No, she refused it, and I believe the 911 dispatcher can verify that, and the probation officer can verify that.
I'll get all the
Sure,
the
sure, I
times from him
understand.
and see what we can find
Yeah,
out.
because ironically, what really blew me away was rather than denying the refusal, or it made me realize, she said, no, you misunderstood. I wasn't afraid of him, I was afraid of escalating. I mean, that was very clearly. And the other officers involved heard the conversations and knew they were there because Dunkirk initially didn't want to respond.
I'll check on this.
Yeah,
and
sure,
make
I understand. And like I said, that's why I understand that you gotta try to get somebody neutral that you know is objective. You know, obviously a frustrated parent is not objective, and I totally respect that and understand that.
All right, thank you for bringing it to our
All right, well,
attention.
thank-
We will get some looking into it.
All right, well, thank you very much for hearing
You're
me.
welcome.
So we have board work. Good job.
Not yet. I want to see what he's doing.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
We're adjourned.